Just over 7 days ago, I handed over my phone, woke up at 4 a.m. every morning, stayed mostly silent, and I'll explain the mostly part, and lived like a Buddhist monk deep in the mountains of Northern Thailand. No music, no dopamine, no distractions, no reading, nothing. Just meditation for literally 14 hours per day. And honestly, what I learned in that experience has and will change my life forever. And in this video that I'm bringing to you today, I'm going to explain why. The way that this video is going to work is I'm going to discuss where I did this, why I did this, what a typical day looked like, would I do it again? And obviously the main part is, what did I learn? What did I actually take from this, and how can I use that to help other people? So stay tuned for the rest of this video, because it's honestly one of the most difficult, mentally difficult that is, things that I've ever done. And I've done some what I would consider fairly difficult things. I've ran a marathon, I've competed in a boxing fight in front of 1,500 people, including my friends and family. I've done a water fast for 72 hours. I've traveled all over the world pretty much alone. I've set myself up to live in different countries alone, Australia, Thailand. But this experience was different. It was different to all of those other challenges that I've done before. But I can honestly say it was one of the most insightful and deep learning experiences I have had in my 29 years of life on earth so far. So where did I actually do this? I did this at a place called Wat Chom Tong. Now, Wat can basically be translated from Thai to English as temple or monastery. So I did it at the temple of Chom Tong, which is a place in Northern Thailand in Chiang Mai. It took me just over an hour, about an hour and 5 minutes, hour and 10 minutes from the old town in Chiang Mai, which is where most expats, most people kind of tend to be living. It's kind of like the main part of the city. And it was something called a Vipassana meditation retreat, I guess you could say. But I think the word retreat kind of undersells what it actually is and what's actually involved. Retreat sounds quite relaxing and almost like a nervous system reset kind of thing. And while it was kind of those things, definitely nervous system reset, it was far from relaxing. As I said, it was one of the hardest things that I've ever done. But yeah, that's where I did it. I did it at Wat Chom Tong in Northern Thailand in Chiang Mai, and I'll leave a link to the place where I did it in the description box below. Now, the next thing you're probably wondering, probably asking to yourself is, why did I do this? Why would I do this? Why would I choose to live as a Buddhist monk for 7 days? Why would I want to be in silence for 7 days? Why would I want to be completely shut off from the world, from phone, from family, from friends, from work, from gym, from whatever it is that you do? Reading, eating whenever you want, drinking whenever you want, socializing, all of these things. And I need to say this in some sort of an efficient manner, because I feel like I could genuinely talk about this for a long time, maybe make a whole video on itself. So I'll try and make it concise. But for me, I've always been a very deep thinker, deep feeler. I've always had deep questions about life. What is it about? What is it really about? What am I meant to do here? What's my mission? What's the point of all of this? And not in a depressive kind of way, just a genuine openness seeking kind of way. What is the point of all of this? Like, what should I be doing? How do I scratch the itch of why I'm here? Because genuinely, I do find that this modern world that we live in is fallen. It's not right. It's very overstimulating. It's full of noise. It's full of distractions, full of negative vices that are fighting for your attention on a daily basis. And don't get me wrong, There are of course some amazing things in this world, but when it is full of such noise and distractions, we tend to not see the amazing things in this world, or we tend to at least to not focus on them as much, because our attention is always being grabbed from something else elsewhere that's probably negative. So without going into too much detail, because I do feel like I could make a long video on that, I've always had a feeling inside of me, a seeking. I've wanted answers, wanted to know what this life is really all about. And I just find that the way that we live in modern life on a day-to-day basis isn't it. I've tried many different avenues. I've tried the corporate sales route of chasing money, chasing status, chasing the next big thing, possessions, whatever it is. I've fallen to vices, been stuck in that trap. I've lived in different parts of the world. I've tried to scratch the itch through buying things, possessions, materialistic rubbish. And I feel that's kind of the way the modern world is built. It's kind of built to sell you on things that don't really mean anything. And they might scratch the itch for a little bit. You might do something, you might buy something, you might go on a holiday somewhere, you might get that job, and it scratches the itch for a while, and then it's the next thing. And that's just a never-ending cycle. And it can ultimately lead to destruction if you're not careful. So to put it short, that's why I decided to do something like this, to try and gain some wisdom, to try and gain some clarity on reality, get some knowledge, and to just step away from this modern world for, although just a little bit of time, it did feel like a very long time. And I've come back and feel like I can take part in this world, although it feels fallen, and it is fallen. I feel like I can take part in it mindfully and actually try and do good in the world, to help myself, to help other people, to take care of others, because ultimately that's why we're here. And things like this have been definitely become clear to me over that 7-day period. Now, throughout the rest of the video from this point onwards, I'm going to be putting some images, some videos of the actual experience itself, where it is, my room, the surrounding areas, the temple. So I'll put them here and here throughout the rest of the video from this point onwards, just so you can get a taster of kind of what it's actually like to do something like this. Now again, obviously I had no phone throughout the whole experience, because that's just not what you do. You have 0 distractions. But at the end, I was obviously given my phone back, and I just made sure that I went around the area again and just really took some meaningful images and videos, just to kind of remember what this experience was really about for me, and obviously to help other people by making a video like this. So I hope it's helpful. Now, I guess the next thing to discuss, the next thing you're probably wondering, is the daily schedule. What does it actually look like on a daily basis to live like a Buddhist monk in Northern Thailand? So I'm going to run that through with you now. Firstly is your alarm goes off at 4 a.m. And I know that sounds early. 4 a.m, of course, that is early. It's not a time that we usually wake up at unless we have to go somewhere like the airport to catch a flight, or maybe to wake up early for work. But me being genuinely honest here, this wasn't the hard part. As you can see from the video, I'll put a picture up of my room maybe now. The bedding, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. When the alarm actually went off, I wasn't itching to stay in bed as such. I was kind of just ready to crack on with the day. Also, I wasn't really getting much sleep at all throughout the night due to heat. You only had a fan in your room, and it was pretty sweltering hot at night. Also, the bugs, there were bed bugs, there were insects flying through the door cracks, getting and flying about, and mosquitoes and everything. So honestly, when that alarm started ringing at 4 a.m, I was up and about. I was ready to start. Definitely not like your typical kind of wake up in bed and it's cozy and warm and everything's fine and dandy. It's not like that. So the 4 a.m. wake up, that's the first part of the day. That honestly wasn't difficult whatsoever. And then from there, so you wake up at 4 a.m. and then until 6 a.m. you're just meditating in your room. There's nowhere, none of the meditation rooms or halls are open yet. So it is just self-practice in your room for 2 hours. And then at 6 a.m. you head over to the food court, I guess you could say, basically where the monks eat. It's like a big canteen area. All of this food is donated from people, from the public, etc., which is absolutely amazing. So I was so grateful for that, because the kitchen staff and whatever the people were donating, honestly, they made some seriously tasty meals out of the food. So I was really grateful for that. I didn't obviously manage to get any pictures because I didn't have my phone, but we were eating things such as chicken and rice vegetable soup and pad kra pao. There were some other noodle soup dishes, and they catered for vegetarians too. Were meat dishes. They basically catered for everyone. There were some desserts even. So the food was actually really good. So that's next. You have breakfast at 6 a.m. until 7 a.m. and then the meditation rooms, halls, etc. are open from 7 a.m. So from 7 a.m. until 11 a.m. is meditation again. You can do it wherever. You can go back to your room if you want to. You can do it in a hall. You can do it in the meditation rooms that they have. You can do it anywhere really. It's practicing noble silence, not speaking to anyone of course, and just doing the meditation exercises that our assigned teacher gave to us. And then at 11 a.m. you go back to the food court, the canteen area, for your last meal of the day. Yes, your last meal of the day at 11 a.m. so before noon, because that's what monks do. They don't eat after noon. So lunch is at 11 a.m. Until 12 p.m. you have that hour to kind of eat and digest your meal, and then that's it. You are meditating from 12 p.m. until 10 p.m. with a 20-minute break or so in between each round. Luckily, the surrounding area had a beautiful lake that in those little breaks I would go and just have a walk around mindfully, peacefully, and this honestly was one of the things that really helped me. Absolutely stunning, beautiful, as you can see from the photos or videos that I've posted on the screen for you. This was really beautiful. And then literally just meditating from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. apart from those little breaks that you have in between each session. Now we were doing two different types of meditation, so a walking variation and a sitting variation, and at the start you get there and you're just doing 10 minutes on each one. 10 minutes on each one, and then you have a break and then you come back to it. 10 minutes on each one. So 10 minutes walking, 10 minutes sitting, doing what the assigned teacher told us to do with your breathing and everything. And then as the days went on, you'd slowly add 5 minutes. So towards the end of it, I was doing about 25 minutes walking, 25 minutes of sitting, and then you do a little prayer at the end of each bit. So towards the end, each session was taking me about an hour, and then you have that 20-minute break, and then you come back and do another meditation session. So you're doing that from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m, and then 7 a.m. till 11 a.m, and then 12 p.m. until 10 p.m. That's what you're doing for the whole day, apart from the eating parts. And then you're asleep from 10 p.m. till 4 a.m. if you can get to sleep, which I really struggled with. So that is what the typical day looks like. Now, as you can probably remember at the start, I said I stayed mostly silent. And the reason for that is because you are given an assigned teacher at the start of the experience, who is a meditation expert. Mine was a guy called Andy from the UK, who's been doing meditation for 25 years. He's lived in Thailand for 9 at Wat Chom Tong, and his knowledge, his wisdom that he has gained over that time and was giving to me on a daily basis in the little 10 minutes that we have together each day was instrumental in me actually being able to continue each day, because I was finding it extremely difficult. It's really tough. I don't know if you've ever done that, but once you are completely taken away from all distractions and you are in silence for that long a period, your mind can genuinely play tricks on you and things can become quite overwhelming with your thoughts and things. So the information that he was giving me and his wisdom, his knowledge and his humor as well was just, yeah, I said, it was instrumental in me being able to actually complete the 7 days. So yeah, have an assigned teacher, you speak to them, well, it's about 10 to 15 minutes each day, but basically he'll ask you, or she'll ask you, how are you finding it? You say your little answer and then they'll speak to you, giving you that wisdom for about 10 minutes. So you only answer really one question, which is why I said mostly silent. But apart from that, it is completely silent. You eat in quiet, you do your meditation in quiet, you're walking past the other people that are doing it in silence, like it's quiet, everything is silence. It's all no distraction, no noise. Because that's what this modern world gives us in abundance, is just distractions, noise, and things to take you away from your actual true being. So yeah, we'll get on to what I learned next, but that is what a day in the life looks like. Actually, before we get into what I learned, I want to talk about the actual struggles that I faced, because I think this is really important to acknowledge. Now, as I said, the 4 a.m. wake up, there was no struggle with that. As I said, the whole kind of just situation, it just wasn't comfortable with the bedding and the bugs and the heat, etc. So that wasn't a problem. 2 meals a day, one at 6 a.m, one at 11 a.m. That's not something that I normally do. I actually normally don't eat until a little bit later on in the day. I normally train in the morning and prefer to fast for most of the morning, and might get a decent meal in after the gym, which I normally do mid-morning. So I normally get a decent meal in after that, and then maybe have something light a bit later, and then a bit more dinner later. So I normally have 2.5 meals a day really, I would say, but are normally high in protein, high in healthy fats, a little bit of carbs in there and some veg too. This food here at the temple was quite carb heavy, not as much protein as I normally would eat, but nonetheless unbelievably grateful for it, because as I said, it's all donation based and the kitchen staff did their absolute best. The food was really tasty actually. But was hunger a part? Was that a struggle? Not really. Hunger wasn't really a struggle. The 4 a.m. wake up wasn't really a struggle. The struggle wasn't even in the silence either. I quite like peace and quiet, not for maybe that long, but you know, I like to connect with people. The struggle came from what the modern life has done to us. The struggle came from the feelings, the thoughts, the feelings that were coming up during the meditation sessions. It's like I found it hard to sit still almost. It was restlessness, boredom, frustration, doubt. Why am I doing this? Is this doing anything for me? I could feel like this tightening in the chest, especially as I was doing the sitting one, where I was like, I need to move, I need to go and I need to do something productive. My mind was telling me, you should be in the gym, you should be making a video, you should be reading, you should be gaining knowledge. It's funny how your mind plays tricks on you. Racing thoughts, pain, and I mean pain, physical pain from the sitting. It's like, I haven't crossed my legs really, probably since I used to sit in assemblies in school. So I could tell that my hips were tight, my back was hurting, my knees, my ankles were hurting from the crossing of my legs sitting down. And you've got to just push through that. You can't just keep reacting, because this is what we do in the world. We feel a bit hungry, we go and eat. A little bit of time goes past, hungry again, eat again, drink whenever we want. Feel a little bit of pain, oh no, avoid that, avoid discomfort. Bored, open our phone, watch a YouTube video, never ending. Feel a little bit bored on the weekend, let's get drunk, let's party, let's do something. Constant doing, constant distraction. And I'm not saying that these are bad. It's not bad to have a free weekend when you finally worked a full week and you're knackered and you want to maybe watch a few YouTube videos in bed, or you want to go and play a sport with your friends. There's nothing wrong with this. But I do think that the modern world has given us these endless distractions that if we're not careful, we can literally be in a cycle of just constant distraction from the true nature of what reality actually is, from who we actually are, from our true being, from our true nature. So before I wanted to get onto what I learned, that is what I wanted to talk about, is the pains, the struggles that were coming up during the meditation sessions. And again, my science teacher Andy was amazing with this. When I told him these things that were coming up each day, he was so helpful, because that made my mind was saying, you need to leave. My mind was saying that this is too uncomfortable. Why are you doing this? You're not going to gain anything from it. You need to leave. You need the stimulation. You need to get back on your phone. You need to connect. All of this stuff that wasn't true. Like, I know deep down my true nature was telling me that this is beneficial for you. But the mind, because we are two things, we are body and mind. My mind was telling me the lies. It was saying, get out of here. What are you doing here? And Andy was great. I would say all of these things and he would be like, the more of these things you feel, the pain, the restlessness, the boredom, desiring, craving, hungry, tired, can't sleep, the better. If you don't attach to them, you can feel these things, feeling. Don't attach. Don't let your story be those thoughts. Just watch them come in and they'll flow out again. And as the week went on, these things progressively started weakening, and it made me realize that, hold on a minute, we're not actually just our thoughts. We're not impulsive beings. We don't have to just act on, oh, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat now. Oh, feel a bit tired, coffee, make it a strong one. Oh, thirsty, have a drink. Bored, get some alcohol, watch a video. Open the phone, endless scrolling, doing constant distraction, constant noise. You don't have to attach to those things that come into your mind. You don't have to, you can just be the observer, he would say. Just watch the movie, Andy would say. And as I did that, these things started to weaken because I wasn't allowing myself to attach to them and to create a story from them and to then act on them. And that is the problem that I think is with the majority of people in this world, and it's not their own fault. It is the way that the world has been forced onto us, unfortunately, is to buy things and to do and to stop the cravings, to act on your desires all of the time, and it's just not the case of our actual true nature of what we should be doing. From silence comes wisdom, not noise. Not distraction. You don't find wisdom in that. You might learn something from this constant noise, constant distraction if you take a bit of time away from it. But if you really want to gain wisdom, which I think that is something that you should be wanting to do from this life, then learning to be silent, learning to get silent, sitting with the pains, sitting with the struggles, that's where you're going to really gain some wisdom. That's where you're going to start to learn what this is really all about. So let's do some key lessons, some key takeaways. What did I really learn from this experience? I feel like this video is going on longer than I thought it was going to, but I can't really leave a stone unturned here. Although I probably have and inevitably will, but I'm trying to get all my points across because I think that's important. One of the first things that came to me was that everything is impermanent. Everything changes. Every emotion changes. Every situation passes. Everything in reality comes to an end. And it's constantly changing. You might not see it on a second by second basis, but we're talking milliseconds. Everything is changing. The tree that you walked past yesterday, it might look the exact same. A branch has fallen or a leaf's fallen. It's getting another day closer to its death. As are we. Our body's constantly changing, cells constantly changing. We're getting closer to the inevitable. The room that you're staying in looks the exact same. It's changing. And you'll see that as the years go on, paint starts coming off or whatever. And I know that just sounds like, oh yeah, that's obvious, but we don't see it and we don't live like that. Everything is changing. Everything is impermanent. Nothing lasts forever. So the beauty in that, there is beauty in that basically. There's beauty in impermanence. We wouldn't know beauty if things weren't impermanent because it would just stay the same all the time. So we'd just get used to that. There's beauty in impermanence. Everything changes. And the key thing about that is we can actually live more freely from that, because the key is to not get attached to things, not to people, not to materialistic items, not to possessions, not to your house, not to your job, not to a certain pair of shoes that you have. Everything is impermanent. There's nothing wrong with that. That is just what reality is. Reality is what it never isn't. And that's what reality is. It's reality. Everything changes. Everything's impermanent. Nothing lasts forever. So don't get attached. Once you can understand that and really understand it, you can start to let go a bit more. You can start to live a bit more freely, and things will come to you, good things, and then you can enjoy them while they're there, and then they'll go, and then something else will come, and you don't have to be trying to be in constant control of every little situation and aspect of your life, and only good things come from that. The next thing was to stop constantly chasing that good feeling. Stop constantly chasing to be happy. Because let's be real, modern life, we spend our lives trying to avoid feeling discomfort. But this past week, that meditation experience taught me that emotions will naturally rise and fall. They'll naturally come and go on their own. So some days you're going to wake up, you'll feel good. That's good. You can be happy with that. And then the next day, nothing might have changed, but you might just wake up and you might just feel a bit bad that day. But then the problem is that in modern life, we don't want that. We want to feel how we did yesterday. Nothing's changed. Why do I feel bad today? I'm going to start doing a few more things. I'll have an extra shot in that coffee today, maybe to give me that buzz. I'll go for a few drinks later with my friends. That'll help me feel better. Or I'll stay an extra 30 minutes in the gym. I'll listen to a bit more music, see how the distractions are coming about again. Whereas we don't actually need to do this. Don't get me wrong, I was a victim of this. I would do those things. I would have that extra strong coffee. I don't feel too well today. I'll have another coffee, or I was doing that as well. But that's what that week taught me. The meditation week taught me is that these feelings are constantly changing. I was having 20-minute meditation sessions where I'd go from feeling good to neutral to bad and then flowing around again. But in modern life, we try and avoid that bad. But then we do things that make us feel good maybe for a second, but then actually ultimately cause us a bit more suffering down the line. It's like we're kicking a can down the road kind of thing. But we don't need to do that. You don't need to attach to the good, to the bad feeling, or the neutral. Just mentally note it. Don't let that feeling in that moment make you act in a certain way that might later cause you suffering. So that's what I learned. The next thing that I want to tell you about that I learned is that most of your thoughts, I can't remember where I saw this, but I think there's some research out there that says you have about 70,000 thoughts or something a day, which is insane when you think about it. And something that I learned in this experience is that thinking never ends. You can't do anything to shut it off, but you don't have to attach to every thought that comes into your head. You don't have to act on every thought that comes into your head. If we did, well, the world would be in a terrible place, because sometimes strange thoughts come into our head. And this is what I want to tell you, is the next bit, is that most of your thoughts, and this is what Andy told me, my assigned teacher would say, that most of them are like your junk box in your emails, the spam. Most of it is just spam. Don't have to attach to it, just ignore it, let it come in and let it go out again, because it will. But again, the modern world, we tend to attach to things and create a story out of it. Why did I think that? Blah, 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 I'll do this, I'll do that. No, you don't have to. You're not 70,000 thoughts a day. Thinking never ends until the body literally stops. So you're not going to be able to control everything that comes into your head. The way that you look at something, and we're constantly looking, aren't we, on the roads, out of work, while we're doing hobbies and whatever, and a thought will just come into your head, whatever you look at, and then it just stems from there. Thoughts come all the time. They might randomly come. You might just be doing something completely normal, and then a random weird thought comes from something that you were doing when you were 7 years old. You think, where did that come from? Who knows? But most of your thoughts are spam on a daily basis. So you don't have to worry about them. You don't have to attach to them. You don't have to create a story, a narrative about all of the thoughts that come into your head. The next thing that I wanted to say, the next thing that I learned, which I think I already briefly mentioned earlier, was that silence brings wisdom. Wisdom comes from silence, not noise and distraction. You're never going to find wisdom out there in the noise, in the distraction, in the bars, in the gambling, in the advertisements, constant seeking, constant searching for happiness in materialistic items and things like that. Constant never-ending cycle. Never going to find wisdom out there in the noise, in the distractions. You'll find it in the silence. It will come to you. Wisdom is within all of us. We all have it. But sometimes we're just so clogged up with these distractions. We keep forcing things down our throat, pushing down. Eventually that stuff needs unclogging. You can't just keep pushing stuff down and relying on vices to get you through. Sometimes you gotta just get silent, learn to be silent, learn to sit in the silence. And yes, it's uncomfortable, the pains will come, the struggles will come, the restlessness, the regret of things you've done in the past. But this is where the wisdom comes. Wisdom comes from silence, not noise. The next thing that I learned in this experience is that everything, every single thing is a learning experience. It doesn't matter what you do, good, bad, neutral, whatever. Everything you do is a learning experience. Everything you can take something from, whether something absolutely tragic happens in your life or something beautifully amazing happens in your life. You can learn from every experience. And here's another thing that I learned. I don't want this to come across as like you have to live as a monk in this world. You can't live in the modern world. Do not mean that whatsoever. This is something that I wanted to do. And what I learned from it, what I took away from it is, yes, still I can take part in this modern world. I know that it's maybe fallen, it's not quite right for how we actually are, but there's beauty in it. And I can still take part in it, but mindfully. I can realise what I'm doing. I don't have to just live on autopilot. Once you take part in the world mindfully, instead of just living on autopilot all the time, things will become a lot clearer to you on where you should be going, what you should be doing. It's when we live on autopilot and we're constantly trying to satisfy those cravings, satisfy those desires that the mind may have, that's when we can start running into trouble. But if you live mindfully, it's only going to help you. Let's just end the key takeaways part with just one more, because I feel like the video is getting too long now. So let's just say that another thing that I took away from it was to stop doing things that you know deep down are causing you and maybe others suffering. And that can be easier said than done. Maybe you have some bad habits, some vices that you try and stop. Maybe you are able to stop them for a week or 2 weeks or a month and you feel good, and then you think, I could allow myself to have a little bit of fun, couldn't I? And then you're caught in that loop again. You cause yourself suffering, you cause other people suffering because you're not your true self, and maybe you don't take part in the world as you should, and you can't help other people, or it affects your family life, it affects your relationships with whatever these habits, bad vices are. At some point, you're just going to have to realise that these things have got to stop. They've got no choice but to give them up. Unfortunately, sometimes you just have to keep doing them until you really, really become fed up and you just can't do it any longer. You can't afford to make yourself and others suffer anymore. But we know how that goes, and sometimes you can't do it on the first try. But eventually it will become clear to you that you just simply can't do this in your life anymore because it's causing you and others to suffer. We all have those things in our life. Sooner or later, we're going to have to realize that this has got to stop. So let's end the video there. I'm not saying that you have to live as a monk to live in this world more consciously. Not at all. This experience isn't for everyone. Becoming a monk isn't for everyone. We've got to take part in this world, most of us, and we can still do that. We can take part in the world. We can have families, we can have relationships, we can have a house, we can do all of these nice things still, but we just need to do it more mindfully, and we need to do it in a way that makes us suffer the least. And I don't mean suffer the least by saying avoid discomfort. No, face the discomfort. But I mean stop doing silly things that you know are causing you and other people to suffer around you. Those vices, the bad habits. You're going to realize that you're going to start to get a lot more from life than you initially thought that you would. So yeah, spending 7 days as a monk in Northern Thailand didn't magically solve my life, but it did make me realize how much most of us have become distracted from reality itself, from true nature. And I would do it again. So let me know down below. Have you ever done something like this? Would you do something like this? Let me know. I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.